I can guarantee that once you understand this one concept in mixing, your beats will sound way better because you will preserve dynamic and you will actually create louder mixes. So let's hop straight into FL Studio to explain this. This concept is called headroom. So headroom is hard to comprehend because nowadays we have all the one shots that just hit straight at 0 and there's no room for headroom. So let me show you guys the before and after and give you guys some secret tools. So firstly, I'm going to run the beat through a limiter. Let's see how it peaks. Okay, so it says we're taking out about 1.2 dB of gain. What we can do is introduce a saturation layer before the sound goes to the limiter. Basically, what a saturator is going to do in a very easy to comprehend way as a music producer is change all the round stuff into square stuff. And when you change the round stuff into square stuff, you add what's called harmonics because a square moves differently than a round sound. And basically, you're going to add more information to your track and it's going to feel more filled out and more loud simply from changing the waveform from a round thing to a square thing. Okay, so I'm generalizing here, but that's basically what's happening. So what we're going to do is use a tool here called Genome. So Genome is not free. And basically you load what are called NAM profiles. So NAM profiles model analog gear. We have here the Zulu, which is a tape emulator machine by Handsome Audio. And I had the real thing, okay, in my outboard gear when you guys saw that commercial studio. So I know what the real thing sounds like. Okay, so we're going to run it through here. And basically what we're going to do is simply just mess with the gain input and the volume output so that it doesn't like become, most people just crank it up. They hear a crunch and they're like, wow, that's better. But really they're just being loud. So now what we're going to do is kind of monitor the input and output. So here's on. Now, usually I would only use this on the drums, but for this video, we're going to use it on the entire beat mix. So here it's off. Now it's on. Let me solo the drums so you guys could at least try to hear it. Here's before. Okay, you hear how the round kick is very smooth. Now listen to the aggression of the kick after. Here's after. Okay, so what we're doing is we're getting more room. So visually on this limiter, I'm using this as more of a meter. You see how we're hitting 0 and it's taking out volume, which makes the whole beat feel squashed because now you really can't do anything because there's no up to go up. There's no down to go down. It's just all slamming up against a thing and it's just going to flatline. What you want for your beat mixes most of the time is dynamic. And the way you create this is by having ups and downs. And the way we can create more room for this is to take out some of those invisible pointy things in the audio called transients. So all these little points, they're called transients. Let's shave those off with the saturation called the Zulu tape machine. So I had different profiles. Let's try different settings. These are all going to give you different harmonic structures here. This one has a little more punch. Okay, now we're not hitting the limiter to where it says that it's taking out 2 dB. So basically we just gained not only 3 dB, we've gained 4 dB, 5 dB of headroom because now we're not reducing the sound 2 dB. So essentially we're adding a ton of space, okay, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to make this complicated and numerical, but basically our ear perceives it as louder even though we chop down the actual dB value, but our ear still perceives it as louder because again, we're changing those round things to square things. And when you add square things in your mix, you add more harmonics and harmonics make stuff feel full. So that's why it sounds louder, but it's not. So here's before. And here's after. And it still feels like it has the same impact, if not more impact. And that's because of, again, the way round stuff turns into square stuff. Now, there's another plugin that I paid for called Schwab Digital Gold Clip. And this one, basically, I meant to note on Genome, you have to find companies that make good .nam files. So the companies I've bought from are called Analog X and Past to Future Reverbs. My favorite are Analog X profiles. These are more accurate in my opinion, but I also like the creativity from Past to Future Reverbs. So look for these. Here are some of the ones. I recommend the analog. There's too many to recommend. Okay, but our guy Analog for Life made this one called A4L 4K custom console. So like I believe it's the SSL 4K console if I'm not mistaken. So I just got that one from him, and we can mess with that one too. This is the Dr. Dre sound that people are trying to go for most of the time. So here's the Zulu. Or excuse me, here's Gold Clip, pardon me. So Gold Clip is chopping off the tops of the transients and just pulling it down. This is where we get a little geeky, but basically it's the same concept. Let's do before and after. Here's before. Again, when you see the meters hitting 0. Here's after Gold Clip. Okay, so it's just pulling that kick down to where it's not hitting 0, but it feels more impactful because, again, we're adding information to the song now. You don't need this much saturation. This just fit this vibe for the song. Okay, but that's basically what a clipper is doing in that case, or Gold Clip. It's a saturation / clipper. Now, most people are going to say, can you do this with stock plugins? Yeah, you can, but it's not going to have the same sound, and I'm not going to make you guys chase just stock plugin sounds. It's not the same sound. I'll show you guys how I would do it, though. With Fruity Wave Shaper, we can, if I could find it, okay, Fruity Wave Shaper, we can basically turn the round things into square things. That's basically what the wave shaper is doing. It's changing the wave's shape. Okay, so when you change the wave shape, it creates different harmonics, which are different multiples of frequencies. Long story short, we're going to make this convex curvature like this. Go to this here icon. Let's add some oversampling. Some people don't like oversampling, but I'll turn it on. Then we can pull the mix level back or turn it up and then turn the pre-level up. Now the pre-level is where you get the crunch. So the more you push the pre-level, the more crunch basically. And then we have to compensate with the post level so that we're not just turning up the volume basically. So let's do before and after. Here's before, that kicks it in 0. Here's after. So for this beat, not going to be the greatest difference. Okay, so we can get away with Fruity Wave Shaper. Now most amateurs / pros who are lazy, including myself, will run it through Fruity Soft Clipper, but this is a lazier way to go about stuff for many reasons. It's because it's just a lazy way to do stuff, but it doesn't mean you're not going to get good results. It just means it's a lazy way to do stuff. So here's the Fruity Soft Clipper. Again, you don't need to use all these paid plugins, but I'm just showing you guys different options here. So now we're running it through just the Fruity Soft Clipper, which is right here. Again, the job of the Soft Clipper is to turn the round stuff into more square stuff. Now, Soft Clipper is going to keep it more round, however. It's not going to square off everything because then it will just sound like a box. There's so much to explain here, but for this beat, you basically have to push the volume into a Soft Clipper or else you're not going to hear the effect. So we're going to boost the volume using a parametric EQ2 on the far left. This is a gain knob. I learned that from Lifestyle. Shout out to Lifestyle. Did it. Boost this up. And now we're going to start to hear the clipping through the plugin. Now, if you turn this threshold to the left, you're going to get more soft clipping. Let's turn the post level down for now. Now, this is really aggressive for this track. I'm just trying to push so you guys could hear. So now we really push the sound to where it's almost like ripping the kick apart. Okay, that's just too aggressive for this beat. That's just too much energy, okay? So we've added saturation, which is a cool sound, but it's just too much saturation. So now we're gonna pull back the input gain. There we go. Now we're gonna adjust the post level. Let's look at the limiter here. Now we can't really A/B this, so it's gonna take a little bit. I'll just turn the Soft Clipper on and off. So that's before, which is way loud. I don't want to blow you guys' ears off. Now with the Fruity Soft Clipper approach, we get more headroom, but it is going to be a different tone, a different aggression on the sound. If you want your beat to feel more open, I recommend you guys turn the threshold to the right to preserve that dynamic movement. And then again, Really, we can't do an A-B here because the gain is changed. So there's no A-B for that one. We're just listening to, does it sound good? Does it not? Sounds good for this beat. Now, it's not going to work for every beat because if you guys have, like, for example, a kick that has not only the fundamental frequency, but like the second harmonic, third harmonic, if that's very full, that like boomy area, it's not going to sound good going through a Fruity Soft Clipper if your sounds are more boomy. So there's use cases for each one. There's no like right one or wrong one. But that's the concept. Again, to comprehend it, let's run one more trial through here. Let's do the analog for life. He's a YouTube creator. I recommend you guys go subscribe. He has a ton of analog gear and he's just super humble. And I'm going to run it through his NAM profiles that he has at Analog X. If I remember, I'll be sure to link. I'm probably going to forget because I always forget by the time I'm done recording. So don't, quote me on that. But basically, we're going to run the beat through the SSL 4K, I believe. Whoa, that's super loud. Let's turn this down. So again, I want to watch my input and my output. So my input is clipping, so I'm going to go back to parametric EQ2 and pull this back to where it was until we're not clipping here. Now I'm going to use the profile to boost it, and I'm just going to use my ear to kind of level out. Now the harder you push the sound on the gain, you're going to get more of an aggressive tone, and because we're adding frequencies called harmonics. Hear that? That's a heavy crunch. So this is analogous to me running this through a real SSL. I believe it's SSL 4000. I have to double check on the website, but I'm pretty sure 4K console means SSL 4K. But again, just triple double check. Don't quote me on that. Which is the Dr. Dre console, I believe. Now we got louder, but let's see if we are. So the question is, how does it feel 10 times louder, but we're hitting less than we hit in the beginning with the other profile, with the Zulu profile. But our beat sounds more aggressive and louder. Okay, so if I turn this off, we're going over 3 dB. I think, to be fair, let me pull this. I guess we can't pull it back because it's the gain structure there, but let's just be fair, pull this back. Okay, so the original beat hits around here. And now when we add the saturator, which is basically what the analog console is doing, when you push it hard enough, it saturates the sound. We're adding frequencies to the track, basically. It feels like the beat is moving now. It feels like it has life to it. It's because we're driving the sound, so we're adding, again, more frequencies to the beat. And the real secret, though, is that we now have more headroom. We now have more room from the top of the audio to the 0 point. Whereas before, if I turn this off, we're hitting 0. Now, if I turn Genome on, for example, Genome's is one of the many things with the NAM profiles. We're not even close to 0, and we can make the beat even louder. So here's where I wouldn't recommend pushing this beat super hard because it doesn't need to be pushed harder. But if we had a vocal or something and we had to just really go crazy with this, I would just push I wouldn't use this gain, but I'm going to do it for demonstration purposes here. We could basically push this 3 more dB before it even hits 0. So let's do it before and after, just the one plugin. We're not even doing like a whole chain. This is just one plugin difference. And it's hard to really do this because I don't want to blow you guys' speakers out. So let's turn the output down. So here's before. Okay, super compressed, and it just doesn't have the same amount of vibe. Now let's add Genome with the SSL profile. Now, again, I would not push this song that hard. I just feel like that's just pushing it too hard because you'll have so much headroom that you'll be like, why would I make the beat louder? That's how much headroom you guys should have, is to the point where like I don't even need to push the beat louder or in more dB because it's already super loud. And that's where you guys want to be. Now, to get there, I'd recommend those. Now, Genome's just a hosting plugin. I don't want to get into the particulars, but basically, you guys want to look for NAM profiles. There's different plugins out there. There's NAM Universal. I've never got it to work in stereo and FL Studio. So you're going to have a lot of people recommending that, but it doesn't work in stereo from my computer. There's also the Neural Amp Modeler plugin, which is free, but it doesn't work in stereo. Then you have Genome, which does work in stereo. Then you have, which you can sign up with a free trial per email. Then you have, what else? The other one called Genesis, I think, is the other plugin. And that one's kind of pricey. So just pick one that loads stereo, and then look for good companies that make great .NAM profiles. That is the secret sauce if you get the right ones. And then another option is Gold Clip, but you really have to kind of get it to where it hits. And then we went through Fruity Soft Clipper and Fruity Wave Shaper. It just didn't have that same sound. So I could sit here all day, but the concept I really want to get into you guys' brain is that your beats probably don't feel dense enough because you're not thinking about the headroom of the beat, and you're not thinking about how to add more headroom through saturation. Not just Fruity, what's it called? Not just through FabFilter Saturn 2. I'm talking about saturation through things like analog console emulations, or saturation through Gold Clip, which is a clipper plugin. So there's different ways to do it. I don't want to bore you guys to tears, but that will probably make your beat sound a lot better. Okay. I guarantee it. All right, so go to busyworksbeats.com/premium to learn more. Look for the Mixing Fundamentals course. I'll see you guys there. Peace.